Black Panther, as you know, opened to record crowds around the world this weekend. One of the excited moviegoers was Niall DeMarco. He is an artist and deaf activist in the United States. Really wanted to see this film. 10 minutes into it, though, walked out of the theater, took his disappointment to Twitter, said the experience made him feel, in his words, so disabled because the closed captioning device that the theater provided kept skipping lines and missing scenes. Not good if you're trying to see this movie. This led to hundreds of other deaf people tweeting about their own movie theater frustrations. Vanessa Wells runs a company called Real Words. It is a company here in Toronto. It reviews and edits captions and subtitles for different films. She also has a medical condition that affects her hearing, so she chooses to use captions. She is with me in studio now. Good morning.
Good morning, Matt.
This tweet got a lot of attention.
It did.
Led to a big conversation. What was your reaction to his comments about the negative experience he had in seeing this film that so many people wanted to see?
Well, sadly, it's nothing new. This is a problem that's been called out for almost 30 years now. It started with Guy Lively in Ontario, was certainly advocating for captions. Mr. DeMarco is a wonderful spokesman for the deaf community, and I think that's why he got so much attention brought to the issue.
What is your own experience? You have, as I mentioned, a medical condition that affects your hearing. You choose to use captions?
Yes, I have some hearing conditions that impact my hearing, although my hearing loss is pretty minimal, so that's not really an issue. I just choose to use captions at home. That's how I got interested in caption editing. And the more I looked into it, I thought I should start doing some checking out of the deaf community's experience with the equipment and accessibility technologies that are available in cinemas.
So you contacted just about every movie theater in Toronto?
I tried to, yes.
There are a lot. To find out about accessibility and to find out what sort of options they have in terms of captioning. What did you find?
Well, certainly I found the most willingness to deal with the problem with the independent cinema owners, but because they're small businesses, that model doesn't really allow for a lot of flexibility in what they offer. Certainly the larger corporate multiplexes have more options available, but the reality of that availability is something quite different. And then, even if the technology is available, they run into things like Mr. DeMarco did with things not functioning.
What is the technology? I mean, what did Niall DeMarco have in his hands or in front of him that would allow him to enjoy the movie as he wanted to?
With someone with more profound deafness, he had a technology that one brand name is CaptiView, and that's a tool that you take into your seat, and it displays the captions a couple lines at a time right in front of your visual field, and it sticks in the cup holder. But in my experience, it wasn't terribly easy to use.
So you're still looking at the big screen.
Yes.
But you're able to see the captions as you're looking at the big screen.
Yes, but you're also flicking your attention from the very small green digital text up to the larger focus further away. It's tiresome for the eyes.
His concern was that it kept skipping lines and it was missing scenes. It would drive you around the bend if you're trying to watch a movie.
Yeah, exactly.
How common is something like that?
Apparently very, because when I tried it out, it went pretty well for the first half an hour of the film, but then I did start noticing lines repeating, missing lines, aside from the normal caption editing problems.
The other issue, as you said, is that whether the technology is actually there or not. What sort of planning, if you're going to a movie, do you have to make to ensure that technology is available for you?
Well, I'm lucky because I don't have to deal with this stuff at this point, but if you're in the deaf community or using captions for various other reasons, it takes a lot of planning. You can't just go, hey guys, let's go to the movie. They've got to search it out. Even though if you go online and look up theaters, you have to go through every single movie to see if they offer any closed captions, and if they do, which theaters, what show times. And you need to call ahead, because just because they have the technology in the cinema does not mean it's available.
Is it reasonable to expect that the cinemas, that the theater owners, operators would have that technology available for anybody who wants it?
It's reasonable to expect it, but that's not what's happening.
I just wonder. I mean, there are obligations in terms of accessibility. They would say that this is a cost. This is something that we have to try and wrap our heads around. So that question of whether it's reasonable or not comes from their perspective, I suppose.
Yes, but the other thing that they're missing out on is this is a very loose number, but generally people say that there are about 10% of the population have hearing challenges. They're missing out at 10% of the population attending movies. So
Those
that's
people are
actually
going to come, they're going to buy popcorn, they're going to spend money on tickets. And
there's opportunity for profit. So that argument doesn't really hold.
the other part of it, as I said, is accessibility. The CRTC requires television broadcasters, all TV broadcasters, to provide closed captioning with 95% accuracy.
Yes.
I don't know whether it hits that or not,
No,
but
it does not.
if you watch the closed captioning, you often see the mistakes. Is there a need to further enforce accessibility rules so that anybody can experience the movie, no matter what ability level they have?
Yes, absolutely. And that's a lot of the work that I advocate for. The difficulty with captioning on TV is that the timeline is extremely quick. The captioners are under a lot of pressure.
It's live.
Yeah, well, live is a whole
Yeah.
other story. I'm just talking about pre-programmed captioning. For movies, there isn't, in Canada, there isn't really anything set in law about making those movies accessible, closed captioned, let alone open captioned.
Is that something that you'd like to see?
I would love to see that. I think a lot of people hear that and they think, oh, I don't want to see captions all over my screen. I just want to see the movie and I'm into the aesthetics. But if you look at other accessibility means, I mean, we don't say to people in wheelchairs, well, you can use that sidewalk curb ramp Mondays from 1 to 3. And that's the reality for some people in other places. They may have showings for the deaf community with captions at lousy hours.
You said 10% of the population has some sort of a hearing loss?
Actually, guesstimates range from 5 to 20% depending on where you're getting information from.
It's a big constituency. Vanessa,
It
thank
is.
you very much.
Thank you, Matt.
Vanessa Wells, an advocate for better accessibility for deaf people. She runs a Toronto company called Real Words. It reviews and edits movie captions and subtitles. Have you had any experience?